Hello, my name's Donna Blinston, and I want to spend some time just explaining what the NLP submodalities are. Submodalities are how we code, order, and give meaning to our experiences. They're how we file our memories, our experiences, things that we do in everyday life. If we didn't, we'd be too overwhelmed with too many things always hitting us in the face. If you think of a filing cabinet, four-drawer tall filing cabinet. In your top drawer tends to be things that are more important to you, that make you happy, that you enjoy, things that you find easy, the things that you're happy to grab and look at every time you open the cabinet drawer. Tend to be in brighter colour folders because you do tend to put things that you enjoy in a nicer looking folder. In comparison to where I put my VAT and tax and accounts, which is in the bottom drawer right at the back, so I only have to look at them at those points in the year when I need to do them. I think that's true with everybody. As a general rule, things that we like, we tend to keep closer to us. They tend to be brighter, more colourful as far as how we represent them, and if we were to make a picture of them in our mind, we'd make a picture that tends to be a bit bigger, a bit brighter, happier, it's got positive emotion, positive sounds, especially when you compare that to something that we don't like, which tends to be further away, it tends to be darker or in black and white rather than being in colour. There might be less focus, it might be lower rather than being in the centre view of your field. Tends to be less appealing, and that's why we don't like them, because when we think of them, that's the image that we get in our head. With submodalities, how you can use them in NLP is you can become aware of that picture and change it. So if it's a food that you like that you wish you didn't, as you think of the food you like, you tend to get a picture that's usually close to you, it's big, it's bright, it's in front of you, you can smell it, you can imagine eating it and taste it. Especially when you compare that to something that you don't like, which tends to be further away, it's a bit duller, different location, often a lower angle to you than your line of field of vision. It tends to be flatter, possibly framed, things like that. So if we change the submodalities of one picture to match them of another, we'll change how we order and code it. So whereas that big, large, full, fat, creamy trifle is in my top drawer, if I was to put it in my bottom drawer at the back, I won't think of it in the same way. The other way that we can use it linguistically is just to listen to what people are saying. People who have problems or are experiencing a difficulty with a different situation tend to have that problem because it's up close, it's in the face, it's hanging over their heads. What do we know already about their problem and how they're representing it, how they're coding it and giving meaning to it, just by what they've said? I've got this big weight hanging over my shoulders, or the weight of the world's on my shoulders. You can bet your life that they're representing that problem as a big problem that's hanging over their head. So what if it wasn't over their head? What if it's on the floor? What would it be like then? Surely you'd have a bit more control. An example of when I used this was walking into work, and I had one of my colleagues sat there with the normal I'm annoyed, I've had a rubbish shift face on. Just fair enough, it might have been a genuinely hectic shift. But the reality was it was now morning, she'd got through it, and she'd done a good job. So my role as her manager was to let her know about that. So when I walked up and I asked, how's your shift been? Knowing full well I was going to get a detailed long moan from her, I said, well done, you've coped with it, you've got through the night. How are you feeling about it? And she said, I just feel like there's a dark cloud over me every time I come on the shifts. I'm always short-staffed, it's always this, it's always busy, nobody does this and that. And I said, so what if that dark cloud was under your feet and you were walking all over it? What would have to happen then for that to happen? And she said, well, a bit more respect for starters. And I said, okay, so who needs to respect you? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, no, really, who is it that needs to respect you in order for you not to feel like you've got this big grey cloud hanging over your head? And she said, well, the night staff, the night sisters, don't seem to understand how much work I've got on. So I said, well, do you think you need to have a conversation, or we need to have a meeting just to explain your role and the difficulties that you're having? And she said, yeah, that would be really beneficial. So from that, we had the meeting. And even though there were still times when we were short-staffed, when she asked for help, people paid more notice because they knew she was already a very capable nurse, and the fact that she was needing or asking for extra help proved that she was in a difficult position. These are just some ways that you can use it. There are thousands more. Just listen to what's actually being said. If someone can't see the wood for the trees, what's that saying? To me, it sounds like the problem is right on top of them, it's right in front of them, or the picture is so defocused that they just can't navigate themselves through it. So what has to happen to make it more focused? What if they were to move further away, or move the picture they've got in front of them further away? By doing that, the way they order, code and give meaning to it will change. Have a listen yourself. Listen to the words that people are using and take note.